My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Jacob and I are going to walk through some of our favorite Monkey Knife Fight slates for UFC 273. If you don't know what Monkey Knife Fight is, it is daily fantasy. It's super easy. It's a ton of fun. It's an app on your phone. It's a website. And it's essentially risk-free because they give you a $100 deposit match if you go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up. They'll instantly match your deposit. If you give them $20, they'll give you 20. You give them 50, they'll give you 50. Take the free money. Take the deposit match money. Play some of these lines. And if you win, great. If you lose, who cares? It was their money. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Every Tuesday, we break down the full cards. We give you our bets, our picks, all that stuff. And we break down the Monkey Knife Fight lines. Obviously, the lines move throughout the week, but we've already broken down every single fight and the strike lines in detail. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to talk about some slates, and we're going to build some favorable slates. The very first thing they have is Knockout Kings. Knockout Kings allows you to pick any 3 fighters from the entire card, and if one of them wins by KO or TKO, you 1.25 times your money, which means 25% net profit. If 2 of them wins, you 2.5 times your money. Don't even play around with 6 of them. So Jacob, let's go ahead and pick 3 fighters that we think will win by knockout or TKO. I'll let you have the second pick. I'm going to go with Chimaev. I think he elbows Burns in the face until he's done. What's your pick?
I think there's a pretty solid 3 in my mind. Obviously, I think the second one would probably be Vandeira. Jared Vandeira, I think, is a safety-ish Knockout Kings play. If you're looking for a second opinion from me, I'd say Ian Gary.
This is what I will do. I think I'll grab Ian Gary here. My concern with Jared Vandeira is he's a volume striker. He's a big heavyweight volume striker. I think he dominates that fight. And Alexei Olenek is 45, but he's not. Who knocked him out? You know what I mean? Like Chris Dawkins hits like a truck. Derek Lewis hits like a truck. Spivak couldn't get him out of there. Fabricio Verdum couldn't get him out of there. That was a few years ago. But so I think Ian Gary's probably solid. Although I think that's a close fight, but that's what he does. He knocks people out. I think Chimaev. So I think Chimaev because I think he just takes down Gilbert Burns and just smashes the hell out of him. And then I would also go with Rosenstruck. I think he gets out grappled in this fight, but he's a giant heavyweight with big heavyweight power. Let's see who else we have here. Daniel Santos, potentially as well. His opponent missed weight by only a half a pound, but I've mentioned this before. I think missing weight by half a pound is more of an issue than by 2 pounds. Because if you miss by 2 pounds, you basically said, I'm not going to keep cutting. You miss by a half a pound, that means I cut as much as I possibly could, and I would rather miss weight and give up money than try to squeeze out a couple more drops of sweat.
Yeah, that's like walking to the scale hoping that you still might make weight where like Kay Hansen was like, nah, screw this. Like, I'm not going to make it. And I'm not going to cut anymore.
Yeah, so Julio Arce only missed by a half a pound. And Julio Arce has had chin. He was just knocked out, right? So that's happened to him before. Daniel Santos, I get it, UFC debut, but he is very heavy-handed and a savage.
He's a wild man
on his feet.
He's a wild man. So I don't hate that. I just think Vandeira because I like his ability to be able to stay on his feet more than Rosenstruck. I agree that Rosenstruck has the more power, but he could be on his back literally the entire fight. Where Vandeira, I don't think will have that issue.
Yeah, so I think you can. I like Kazmat. I think Chimaev and Gary are probably pretty solid, and then you can do a Vandeira, you can do a Daniel Santos, you can do Rosenstruck, and you get
Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, she's always live for a knockout. You can try to chase 2 knockouts. This is not the card for that. I would not do that. I am all about free money, and it is essentially free. You get any 3 fighters. If one of them wins by KO or TKO, you get 25% return. And you know what? That's not a giant return, but we do this every single week. That is free money week in and week out. And you can place multiple of them. So grab your tentpole fighter, do 2 or 3, $50 each, whatever it is.
And I know too that you see you kind of see the Mackenzie Dern. You kind of see those big favorites, and you think like, oh, those guys will probably get finishes. But those little guys, especially against somebody named like the Korean Zombie, and we saw Aljo take some good shots from Jan earlier in their fight as well. I would stay away from Volkan and Jan trying to chase finishes, even though they are big favorites.
Completely agree. And let's take a look at rapid fire. So the rest of these are all based off of strike lines, not significant strikes, but total strikes. What I love about rapid fire takes two fighters, and all we have to say is who will land more strikes. It doesn't matter if they only land 1 or 2, who will land more between them. So we have Alexander Volkanovski stacked up against Petr Yan. Volkanovski, so Petr Yan's getting 10 strikes. So he's starting at 10, Volkanovski's starting at 0. Who do you think ends up with more strikes between the two of them? I think it's still Volkanovski.
I think it's Volkanovski by a mile. I mean, he could come. The only thing that worries me about this is because Volkanovski is a guy you don't really know what he's going to do because he can do so many things. So he could come in and just wrestle. But even in the wrestling, I think that he gets off more strikes. And he has, the level of competition. I mean, Zombie is not at the level of competition to him compared to Sterling to Jan. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I still think it's him though because even with the wrestling, he's super busy. And Petr Yan, I imagine there's a lot of wrestling in that fight. He got 7 takedowns last time. Aljamain Sterling's been very vocal about how many takedowns he wants to get. What do you mean? He did get 7 takedowns.
Well, they were like, those were takedowns to where Sterling was like, I want to go to the ground. So it was like little trips, and Sterling would fall down and be like, come on. I mean, he wanted to be on the ground.
Well, then we have Sterling versus Chan Sung Jung. I think Sterling probably lands more strikes than Korean Zombie. You don't think so?
We see it different because I think Sterling said it, once I get on top of this guy, he's not going to get up. Whether that happens or not is yet to be seen. But I think he's just going to come in, wrestle, not worry about, and go for submissions, right? Because he's a submission guy, not a ground and pound guy. And Zombie is the Zombie for a reason. I don't think he's going to get finished. Volkanovski's not a finishing fighter. So he's going to be there for all 5 rounds. And if he can defend a few takedowns, all those strikes are going to be there. Plus he gets it's not much, 7.5. But I played the Zombie side on that.
The reason I like Sterling is this is a rematch. And in the first fight, Aljamain Sterling outlanded Petr Yan. And it was the 4th round, and he was, over 100 strikes or something already. So,
it was. Different. It'll be a different game plan.
It could be, but I still think Sterling lands more strikes than Korean Zombie. So, because Korean Zombie may also look to wrestle here like he did. I don't know.
I mean, Korean Zombie's he's more of a striker. I mean, that's what Sterling is.
But look what he did to Dan Ige. He grappled Dan Ige.
Yeah, but he knows he can't. I just think you're making a mistake here.
Okay. Well, what I also love about this is these pay 3-1. $10 wins $30. So I love the 3-1 payouts on rapid fire. And let's go ahead. The last thing we will do here is I absolutely love my 3 for 3s because you can 5 times your money. This time we are playing against the strike line, but if we don't like this, we do have another option right next to it. So let's take a look at both quickly. We have Korean Zombie. We have Korean Zombie at almost 100 strikes. It's probably more. It is still probably going to be a 5-round fight. I imagine there's some wrestling, but 100 strikes is not that crazy.
Not for a Zombie. Not for a Zombie. He's going to be there, man.
Tisha Torres, more than 82. I completely agree. I think Mackenzie Dern is just a punching bag, and Tisha Torres, it's like a cartoon. There's just going to be a cloud of dust running around Mackenzie Dern like this.
That might be a typo. I think he actually meant to put 825. She might land 800. She might land 825 strikes against Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern is a walking broken nose.
And then we have Aspen Ladd at 80. This one is the tricky one because I think Aspen Ladd wins, but Raquel Pennington is going to do everything possible to hold Aspen Ladd against the cage and take everything away from her. But I don't think Aspen Ladd gives into that. 80 strikes. It's 3 rounds. I still think she gets past it. But what do you think there?
This is tough. If you look at her last performance, you got to say less. But if she comes in and fights the way that she normally fights, I imagine that, Raquel's going to end up on her back at some point. Remember, this is short notice, very short notice for Raquel too. So Aspen looked great. I think with the weight and the way that she looked, I think you probably play them more.
I'm looking at Aspen's stats. I am changing my mind. It is absolutely 100% the less. 100% the less. Against Norma Dumont in a 5-round fight, she had 65. Oh, these are strikes, not significant. These are, sorry. I'm back on board. I'm back with Aspen. Aspen will do the more. She had 86.
She's going to come out aggressive. After her last performance, she's going to come out aggressive.
And she had 86 against Norma Dumont, and she was a step behind that entire fight. 85 against Yana Kunitskaya, where she had multiple takedowns. Jermaine Durandamy, that one doesn't.
She's a ground. There's a difference. I mean, I keep harping on it, but there's difference when people go to the ground. Some people work for submissions. Some people are ground and pound. She is a ground and pound type of wrestler. So.
Yo, it's definitely the more. Every single Aspen Ladd fight in the UFC, including her last loss, except for the stoppage with Durandamy, was more than
5
80.
rounds, right? That was 5 rounds.
That was 5 rounds, but she was a step behind the entire
Right. She
time.
looked awful. She looked awful.
Yeah. So she still got past it, and she was very far behind in that fight. So I think it's a triple more. Let's take a look at the next one. Volkanovski, 156. These are atrocious numbers. Don't do this one. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't like any of those.
Nope. Don't do these, but you guys get the idea. And what's really nice, if you're very, very risky, you can go all the way up to 25 times your money. Last little tip. If we go back here, we'll click on the fist. Those were the all-day slates. That's every single fight on the card. You can narrow things down and get it as favorable as possible. So let's eliminate the main card because those were with the bad lines. If we look at the prelim card, and then we do our 3 for 3. Well, now we've eliminated some of the tricky ones. We've got Darian Weeks, Mike Malott, Ian Gary, instead of 156 with Volkanovski. So guys, check it out now. Let us know your favorite lines and your favorite plays. Join our Discord, share your thoughts there, and let's all work together to make as much money as possible watching fights and enjoying ourselves. Yes, Jacob.
You know what my favorite line is?
What?
Jacob lines.
I'm so glad I went to you on that. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Sign up, make a deposit. They will instantly match that deposit. Use the free money, play some lines, and good luck. Jacob, we'll see you Saturday for the pre-fight live stream.